and say, "I get it now." That anxious night, I whispered a short prayer that even if I couldn't figure everything out right away, I could at least clear my mind, maybe even allow myself to get a little bit of sleep. I started out by writing April the 1st at the top of a clean page. That right there made me stop and laugh out loud. I wondered if I oughtn't be too surprised at what I'd seen and heard in Cartersville that afternoon. Maybe it was only a big cosmic April Fool's joke. Maybe I was overreacting and being a Miss Goody Two-Shoes. Was it wrong to do the thing Jeanette was planning to, while wearing clothes that showed all a woman had to show? Wait a minute. Anybody who'd been there and seen her face would know I wasn't getting worked up over nothing. Pondering all this, I looked up from my notebook to peer out into the settling darkness. The smell of wet earth filled the air as water dripped and ran from the swollen creek at the side of the farmhouse down into the Etowah River. It was one of the earliest, wettest springs on record in Uharli, Georgia, the kind where the rain hangs a cool, low mist over everything. The songs of spring peepers, joyous over the season, rang out from the creek. There were other froggy sounds, too, various croaks and husky trills calling for mates. Down in the lower 100 acres of the farm, called the Bottoms, the Etowah River sliced through what used to be a field full of Silver Queen corn that was my Uncle Silas's pride and joy. That land had grown fallow at his death and stayed that way as the Reverend's hands were full tending to the needs of his flock. On the top 200 acres, there was nothing left but the farmhouse, Imo's little quarter-acre of a vegetable garden, assorted barn cats, and Dusty Red, our fearless yard rooster. Oh, and Bingo, but he felt more like one of the family than a dog. In her prime, Imo had been a hard-working farm wife who cultivated a huge garden, cleaned the house, cooked, canned, sewed, gathered the eggs, milked the cow, and thought nothing of jumping out of bed in the dark of night to chase down an escaped bull. And during those 2 years between when Uncle Silas passed away and before her marriage to the Reverend, she still kept her big garden as well as a small herd of Angus. But the day Imo said, "I do," again, all this fell by the wayside. Imo took the job of pastor's wife seriously, and she was gone from the farm practically all day, sitting with shut-ins, comforting sick and bereaved folks, and tending to things at Calvary Baptist. I was 10 the first time I was ever away from the home place more than a night. I went off to stay with a buddy at her granny's house in Atlanta for a week that summer, and she lived smack dab in the middle of that big city, in a fancy condominium with thick carpets and gold mirrors. The only animals around were little featherweight dogs that folks carried out to the sidewalk on leashes. The first couple of days were exciting, going to art galleries, strange restaurants, and fashion malls. I'd barely given a thought to Imo, Uncle Silas, Jeanette, or the farm. But by that 3rd day, I thought I would bust if I couldn't see some wide open spaces, and I couldn't get back home fast enough. When I did, I told Imo I was never leaving again, and she just looked at me, nodding and laughing. Though Imo wasn't my birth mother, she raised me from my first cry in this world, and I became the shadow of someone who loved to garden, who knew the connection we humans need to the earth. If she felt the need to see the world, she never let on. She seemed more than content right there on the farm. While Imo and I were both country girls at heart, Jeanette called the farm, and Uharli, Georgia for that matter, Dullsville. When she finally moved away to Cartersville, she was beside herself. My trip to Cartersville that day started out innocently enough. Jeanette called and put little Silas on the phone. "Auntie Lou," he said, his breath laced with wonder, "I can ride my bike without wheels." Of course, he really meant without training.